All right, so for today, what we're going to do is we're going to continue with the fourth chapter, and we're going to look at 4B, algebraic expressions. So first of all, when we get to writing expressions, don't get spooked out by it. A lot of students see these words and they're just like, oh my goodness, this is so difficult. When you know what the words mean, it's not as difficult. So first of all, operations, and you need to know these when you take your exam. First of all, addition. When we see words like sum, plus, total, more than, increased by, it means that you need to be adding. When you see words like difference, less than, minus, decreased by, you need to use subtraction. When you see words like times, product, multiplied by, and of, that's multiplication. Now sometimes you need to be a little bit careful with the word of. Sometimes when it's in a sentence, you can use multiplication. Sometimes it's used more as an English word, more of a connector. So you need to be careful with those words sometimes. And then finally, division. When we see words like quotient, divided by, divided into, that means division. So let's take a look at this. When we do these, you've already met with your partner, you already have your answers. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at this. First of all, the blank of 3 and a number n. If I use my list, the best word that we would use there is sum, the sum of a number 3 and the number n. And we can write it as 3 plus n. That's the best way to write it. However, you will know that when I add numbers together, the order doesn't matter. So I would also accept n plus 3, just because I can flip-flop those two, and I get the same answer. If I go down to number 2, a number x blank 10, that would be plus, and I can write 10, or x plus 10. I can also write 10 plus x, because again, those numbers can be flip-flopped, and I get the same answer. Now let's go down to subtraction. We're going to look at the subtraction words to fill in these blanks. The blank of 7 and a number a, that would be difference. The difference of it. Now, order makes a difference when we're doing subtraction. And what we're going to do is it's going to be 7 minus a. When they talk about difference, the number that comes first, or the thing that comes first, actually comes first when we're writing the expression. And the number 4, 12 blank than a number x, it would be less than. So we're going to put less there. And less than is one of those tricky ones. So you might want to circle this or star this, because this is what students have difficulty with. When we do this, it's 12 less than x. So the x is going to come first, and then we're going to subtract 12. It cannot be flip-flopped. It needs to be this way. Subtraction is a little bit trickier than multiplication or addition with that. Now let's go ahead and go to multiplication. 5 blank a number y. That would be times. Now when we write this, a lot of students, what they want to do is they want to do like 5 dot y or a 5xy, because it means multiplication. I advise you not to do that. When we do multiplication and we have a number and a letter, even 2 letters together, we don't need symbols. We can just write 5y. It's shorter, it's sweeter, and it's better. Some students will want to go like y5. Well, they're next to each other. But that's like having your first name as your last name, so like flip-flopping. So rather than, oh, Ronald Reagan, we say Reagan Ronald. It sounds funny. And so we want to make sure that first name or number comes first. All right, let's keep going. The blank of 2 and a number n, that would be product. And if I do like I did up above, that would end up being 2n. Right. Keep going. We're going to go to division. The blank of a number a and 6, that would be quotient. Right? And I'm going to go a divided by 6, or I can go a over 6. You also cannot flip-flop those. We don't like those flip-flops. A needs to come first. And then this last one, 8 blank into a number y, 8 divided into a number y. And it's going to look like this. It's going to be y divided by 8. Or y is over 8. Okay, and I'm flip-flopping those also because it says 8 into it. If I think back to elementary school, okay, 8 would be on the outside and y would be underneath the house. I'm taking 8 into y. So if you think of it that way, that'll help us out, right? So you might have to write it this way just so that you can write the expression. All right, let's move on. We're going to translate the verbal phrase into an expression. So the first example, 6 less than the quantity 8 times the number. I'm going to underline those special words, less than and times. And when I write this, remember less than is subtraction, right? And the 6 is going to go behind it. And so 8 times x, or 8x, is going to come in front of it. And that is our expression. Right? Let's go to number 2. 2 times the sum of 5 and a number a. I'm going to put 2 out front. I'm going to use a parentheses, and I'm going to go 5 plus a. Right? We're going to use parentheses because I'm multiplying 2 by the sum of those two. So you need to make sure you have parentheses. If you don't, you wouldn't get the same answer. So make sure you have the parentheses. Okay? And then finally, let's go to number 3. The difference, here's difference, of the cube of a number n. So difference, of course, is subtraction. So I'm going to go 17 minus, and the cube of a number n. So it's going to be n cubed. Okay? All right, let's keep going. We're going to find the unit rate. Unit rate students get really scared about. It's not so bad. I've got 3 gallons of milk that costs $9.15, and I need to write the unit rate. Question you could ask yourself, is it gallons per dollars or dollars per gallon? Okay, it's usually dollars per gallon. So I'm going to take $9.15 and I'm going to put that down first. And then I'm going to divide it by 3 because I have 3 gallons of milk. Okay? So if I end up doing the math and divide, I end up with $3.05, and that'll be per gallon. Make sure you have the label. Labels are sometimes just as important, if not more so, than the actual number itself. Okay? This next one, 420 miles in 3 hours. So I take 420, I divide it by 3, it's almost ready to go right away. And I get 140 miles per hour. Okay. Let's keep going. Our next one, number 3, I've got $12 for 3 feet squared. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 12 and I'm going to divide it by 3, and that ends up being $4 per square foot. Okay. And finally, number 4, I've got 20 cups for 8 people. I would take 20, I divide by that by 8, and I end up with 2.5 or 2.5, and it would be cups per person. Now, one person had mentioned earlier, well, Mrs. Medvick, how can you have 2.5 cups per person? I can't cut a cup in half. Well, if I'm looking at paper cups and say I want to give this person 2.5 paper cups, no, you wouldn't do that. But if you're thinking about something in the cup, like liquid or a recipe of some sort, you can have 2.5 cups per person. So this is your notes for today. If you have any questions, make sure that you email me and let me know that you have questions. And your assignment will be listed in Schoology.